This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Do you ever wish someone would just give you a map of your life so you didn't have to figure it all out on your own? Therapy can feel kind of like that because it gives you a space to talk through your options and choose a path you feel great about. Visit betterhelp.com/super to give it a try. Okay, can Kristoff actually speak to Sven? Hey, brother! Okay, y'all, let's talk Frozen, specifically Kristoff and even more specifically his relationship with his childhood companion, Sven. First of all, how is this reindeer in such excellent health? We see both Kristoff and Sven as just pups, and then all these years later, Sven seems to not be just in good health, but darn near prime. I simply had to know whether or not this tracked, and discovered that while reindeer can live up to 20 years, 15 is more average. And we also know from the Frozen wiki that Kristoff is the ripe old age of 8 by the time he's engaging in dangerous manual labor in the form of ice harvesting. And we also know that the duo have been together ever since, and that it's 13 years between this opening scene and when we see them again at Oaken's trading post after Elsa goes all ice crazy.
So, tell me, what made the queen go all ice crazy?
But Sven seems to be just as fit as a fiddle over there. Just in the first installment, he can outrun wolves with a sleigh in tow, and he's jumping canyons. Then 3 more years later into Frozen 2, he's carrying Kristoff through the attack of the fire spirit and saving Anna from the threat of the earth giants. At this point, Sven is minimum 16 and keeping it lean. Well done, buddy. Which may make some sense considering his particularly close relationship with Kristoff, and nothing like a boy and his reindeer as they slay. That's a reindeer joke. I know Isybelle's gonna make fun of me for that later. But here in late, I've been watching the Frozen franchise seemingly on repeat thanks to my daughter Addison's recent obsession. And while I've of course always known that Kristoff will speak for Sven, I always assumed that this was like largely thanks to their long-standing rapport with one another, not like Kristoff actually understanding what Sven was thinking.
I don't understand you when you talk like that.
But I think there may be more than enough evidence to suggest that it's more than that maybe Elsa isn't the only one in this story that has powers. So today we discuss whether or not Kristoff can actually speak reindeer. Hey, brother! Okay, so to kick things off, we also need to spend just one quick second reviewing Kristoff's backstory because it's vitally important to how all of this is going to click together. As I said, we meet Kristoff at just 8 years of age when he's already out ice harvesting with the men, but interestingly, it doesn't really seem like Kristoff is actively involved with the rest of the men. He and Sven have their own sled and leave separately, which is also how they end up running across a young Anna and Elsa and his adoptive troll family.
Cuties. I'm gonna keep you.
The thing is though, we know that the trolls keep him, which means Kristoff and Sven were just out there on their own. But as mysterious as this movie can be at times, this question is never actually explored on screen. Both Anna and we, the audience, just sort of accept the fact that Kristoff and Sven are a lone entity, but not to worry because I'm fairly certain I know exactly where they come from. It all comes down to the mist caused by enraging the spirits and locking both the occupants inside.
They've been trapped in here this whole time?
And everyone else out.
What was that?
What's fascinating though is that the people inside the mist are actually reindeer herders, and similar to Kristoff, seem to have a particularly close relationship with them. And this has always led me to believe that Kristoff's own parents were outside the forest with a group of reindeer when the mist was formed, trapping them away from the rest of their community. Obviously, we can only guess as to what might have happened in the meantime, but either way, we know the eventual outcome, which is that Kristoff and Sven are all alone. However, the ties to the Northuldra and the forest seem even tighter when Kristoff eventually does make it inside. For example, when Anna and Elsa realize their own mother was Northuldra.
That's a Northuldra scarf.
What?
The tribe makes a formation around them, and Kristoff is very decidedly positioned amongst the Northuldran people, which I think is significant because, in contrast, Lieutenant Matthias of Arendelle is positioned away from them. This is harkening back to the same symmetry and positioning that is used when we first see village leaders from the Northuldra meeting with their grandfather all of those years prior. Then, immediately after Elsa has promised to free the forest, we have the first exchange between Kristoff and his new reindeer BFF, Ryder.
Some of us were born in here. We've never even seen a clear sky.
This shot also seems to be very intentionally set up. It's very symmetrical, but demonstrates the exact opposite circumstances they each found themselves in when the mist was formed. Ryder was of course trapped inside the forest, while Kristoff may have been trapped out. Even if neither actually knows about this potential connection, they're on the same page. Kristoff even responds,
I get it.
"Do you though, Kristoff? You get what it's like to be magically trapped inside of a forest and barred entirely from the outside world?" But to be clear, I am just being facetious here, because maybe Kristoff does sort of get it, but just in reverse. Guys, we need to take a brief pause right there to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, BetterHelp. We are right in the holiday season, which if I know you, yes you, right there in your seat / car / desk / sleeping bag in a tent in the woods, gotta love winter camping, I know you're a giving person, probably focusing your efforts on trying to narrow in on that perfect thoughtful gift or making arrangements to see loved ones. Point is, this community is full of such great people, and I feel certain you're thinking of others right about now, but don't forget to use this time of year to also think a little bit about yourself. And to speak totally honestly, I personally struggle with prioritizing my own needs, but by having therapy regularly scheduled throughout the year, it ensures that I'm setting myself up for success by planning ahead and placing myself in an environment for personal growth. So whether it's by starting therapy or going easier on yourself during the tough moments or treating yourself to a day of complete rest, remember to give yourself some love this holiday season. And in the season of giving, give yourself what you need with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/super today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/super. Link is in the description down below. Because from here, the connection between these two only really grows, with Ryder showing Kristoff the way in which Northuldran people propose marriage, something that Kristoff just totally rolls with. To me, this means Kristoff almost immediately accepts that the Northuldra are his actual heritage, because it's not like we don't see the troll's exact version of this in Frozen 1. Like, he has an existing proposal blueprint to go off of. But before we even get to that, we find our way back to this concept about Kristoff and his ability to speak to Sven, where we discover it's yet another trait that he and Ryder share.
Wait, you talk for them too?
I do.
It's like you can actually hear what they're thinking.
Yeah, and then you just say it.
And then you just say it.
And I will absolutely be the first to say that on my first 40 passes of this exchange, I always just felt like it was a great way to have these two bond in a slightly, goofy way. But it does start to make you wonder if either some of the Northuldran people don't just have a relationship with the elemental spirits like Elsa does, but do have magical gifts of their own. After all, earlier on, when the Northuldran leader discovers Elsa's powers, she says,
Nature reward a person of Arendelle with magic.
This is an interesting question because it's not how on earth does a person possess magic, which at least as far as we know should be a fairly unique concept. The Northuldrans, at least based on what we've learned, do not possess power over the elemental spirits at all. They simply live harmoniously with them. Her question is why someone from Arendelle specifically would be awarded with magic, and this kind of makes me think that Northuldrans must have been awarded with magic in the past. This means that Ryder and Kristoff's ability to hear and interpret reindeer might be way more legitimate than just, wow, these are really weird guys who really like reindeer. Like, they might have the actual magical ability to communicate with them.
She'll die on her own.
I can live with that.
Here we go.
But you won't get your new sled if she's dead.
I think actually it's up.
Sure, maybe they take some creative liberties with the voices that they give them, but they are actually communicating. But it's so difficult to know for sure. If only we could just actually listen inside of Kristoff's mind to hear what he seems to be hearing. And obviously we can't, but the good news is there might be someone who can. The trolls. We know that the trolls adopted Kristoff and Sven at a young age, and that's where they now call home.
Cuties. I'm gonna keep you.
The trolls are also super interesting because, one, they're quite literally who King Agnar seeks out for advice when Elsa hits Anna in the head with a blast of ice, meaning on some level they're experts in the field of magic. But then two, because of their unique powers, which we the audience and Kristoff and Sven see on display when they're healing Anna's frozen head. Is it possible this is what they did to him, Kristoff, too? Maybe he doesn't even remember that he has a magical ability, but is still actively using it? This could be incredibly telling when we examine the troll's own relationship with Kristoff, and for more than one reason. The first of which is that this could absolutely be why or how Kristoff isn't more preoccupied with where his own own parents might be, or even his own origins. In an effort to spare him of that hardship, they could have quite literally alleviated him of certain memories.
But don't worry, I leave the fun.
But it also means that the trolls could have seen inside of Kristoff's mind, and as the resident experts in magic, they may have just seen something unusual, like the ability to speak to reindeer. And that's not pure speculation either. This next bit is what actually led me down the entire rabbit hole in the first place. It's after Kristoff has brought Anna to the trolls to examine her frozen heart, and the trolls immediately break into the song Fixer Upper. And they do the classic family thing, you know, throw shade on simple things like how he walks and talks and the shape of his feet, general sense of odor, you know, nothing for anyone to feel ashamed about or embarrassed. I have no idea what I was going for here. But then there's one verse in particular that I think threads the whole thing together.
Then obviously you're singing this part, right?
No. So he's a bit of a fixer-upper, so he's got a few flaws, like his peculiar reindeer, his thing with the reindeer, that's a little outside of nature's laws. That's a little outside of nature's laws. This is coming from the trolls, who we know to be more than familiar with magic, which almost certainly means that whatever Kristoff is doing isn't just rapport with Sven. It's an actual ability. Yeah, this whole time, we've been so preoccupied with all, you know, the ice powers, Elsa being the fifth spirit, whatever. Kristoff can talk to animals, or at least reindeer.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But there you go, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you'd like to see the entire video where we break down the truth about Kristoff's parents, which kind of like led me down this path in the first place, you can do so right over here. But otherwise, until next time, bye!